Hello guys, it's Peter from PS Sound, and this is going to be another video showing a project from France. Someone who came over from France. It looks like we get more and more cars from over there, especially after COVID restrictions are now not as crazy as they used to be in the last 1.5 years. And I thought to record this because it's very, very useful for many people. This is not a high-end system, this is pretty much a basic level system. The owner came over to do something with the tuning, he needed help with that, and then potentially do some magic if we could improve the system. So he came for 2 days. Obviously first we thought we would just spend the first day with tuning and evaluating the system. Quickly realized that there were big limitations in the system design, and then we spent today building a sub box quickly, a custom sub box, a proper sub, and then we transformed the whole system simply just by doing that little thing. But before I jump into the car, because now he's listening to his new tune, I think I have to talk about something that many people struggle with, especially those who don't have a reference, who've never had a proper sound quality system. And now it's a great time to talk about it, because it's coming from the owner. Because he told me that when he wanted to get a system in France from a shop, they did a good job, but they missed out many things. The first and foremost, the most important thing is that they don't really give a demo to people what can be done. You know, they just look at how much do you have, what can you spend, what are the limitations of the installation, that's it. But they don't offer options. They don't show a demo car what it could sound like if it's passive or active, what a DSP can do, what staging is about, all these things. So they just want to shift boxes quick, and that's what it's about. Oh, he's smashing it now. Earlier he couldn't turn the system up at all. The system was so limited that it was playing on like 1 or 2 watts. Okay, I always say the first watt should count, and when that sounds good, happy days. It doesn't matter if you have 100 watts and it doesn't sound good on the first watt. But now he can also enjoy it at louder levels, especially in a loud car, because this Peugeot is not a quiet car on the road. But going back, you know, he got an entry-level system with a full vibe equipment list, vibe C-Vent, mid-bass in the doors, tweeters on the bottom of the A-pillars, custom built, you will see shortly. A vibe Underseat, tiny little thing, like an active little box, shoe box, which was terrible. I mean, it doesn't matter where you put it in a car. Yes, it's something, it's more than nothing, but to expect that to play music and something that we can call quality, I told to him that I would never suggest something like that to any customer. Okay, it's cheap, and then they say, you know, I can't have a sub in the back, then we figure out some other option, but I would never use one of those. He's smashing it now. He's gone to a live concert, there you go. So he had one of those, and he didn't do any favor to the system. It sounded bad. The whole system had a lot of issues, to be fair. But first, when he got it fitted, it was passive, I think, or maybe it was just running from the head unit's DSP, very limited. And it didn't sound good. He didn't like it at all. He knew that he didn't want to spend much, and yes, he didn't go all out. But if a shop shows the difference, has demo cars, and can show that, hey, if you spend an extra grand or two, this is what you can get, no one would complain about spending more when they know what they can get. But he didn't have a reference. He didn't know what to expect from a car, and the only reference he had was pretty much the channel that I run, and all of you who follow the channel, you know, all the videos, that was the only thing that gave him a bit of an idea about what it should be about. So he watched the sound quality in car playlist, he watched all those videos, then he started to do research himself, then he bought a DSP, got it fitted. He got familiar with even room EQ wizard and the measurement techniques and things like that. He's in IT, so he's quite a techie engineer guy. And actually, he turned up, and the system didn't sound bad. This was one of those rare occasions when I was like, okay, spectrally, I always listen to the system spectrally. Does it miss anything? is something too much or something missing? And it was all right. It was all right. We measured it, and it was all right. But I could see that the speakers were not quite in phase. They were not timed. Staging was off, and then the headroom in the system was just nothing, zero. There was no dynamics in the system. And tonality was all right, but bass, yeah, the tonality on bass with the Underseat thing was terrible. And then, yeah, I told to him, you know, we can have an option. We can fit you a 8-9-inch driver that actually I pulled out of my Honda. It's one of those things, I don't keep many things on the shelf, and it may be another video when I talk about what I use and why. We have to have a video about that. But normally we have time to plan. We have time to plan systems, and I don't keep, you know, 10 different drivers, subs, components and things like that on my shelves, because I don't need to. That's not how we operate. We don't do high quantity installation, we do rather quality. So we have probably 3-4 cars a month, bigger projects or even less, and then a couple of 1 or 2 day little things when we have to transform the system, tune it, things like that. But I told to him, if he doesn't want to lose space and he's not a bass head, he just wants a musical sub, then I had one of those SB acoustic cheap drivers that actually now I had in my Honda, and took it out, you know, everything for the customer. Took it out, I'm going to replace it, I buy another one later, it's just fine. We built a small box for it, and now you can see from the picture that actually it's laughable, it disappears in the trunk. And I was like, you know, this is small. It's 15 liter, which is like a little bit bigger than half cubic foot. And it was like, well, it's all relative. Compared to the previous sub, this is 4 times bigger. And actually, when we put that next to it in the trunk, yeah, okay, that's a decent size sub. And for what the customer wanted, musical bass, he didn't want hair tricks, anything like that. He didn't want, you know, crazy rear view mirror rattle and shaking. He just wanted nice low end that feels the car and plays accurate, and it just does it. It plays down to 26.7 hertz, considering it's a tiny little box. It's musical and it has enough headroom to keep up with the front end, and now we can turn it up. And now he has just stopped the music. So it might be just the time when I jump into the car and I have a conversation with him about what he found now after the changes. And then we may show you actually the measurements of this system, so you also get a bit more insight into what truly happens on a tuning session. Yeah, I shared many tuning videos that you can find in the tuning playlist. I'm gonna drop that in the description as well, but I think this should be interesting. So come on, let's see how he's feeling. So I'm recording this part because I had an introduction while you were listening to music, and we mentioned it earlier that it would be quite good now to have footage of this and potentially inspire and help others who are in a similar situation like you are or you were when you started. I explained that you didn't really get options and you didn't have a chance to get a demo in a car to hear the difference between, you know, proper active system.
Right. And also
nice.
to have the knowledge about the differences. It's not only receiving the choices, but for me, when I received the proposal, I didn't have reference to compare.
What is what? You were just looking at the prices.
I said, well, if it's the right way to go for this project, I can trust the guy because he is professional. And it's with the time and with your videos and others that I understood that we can achieve something different. And if there is a lack of integration between the subwoofer and the front, is not because the equipment is wrong. Is also part of this tuning that is not done, or that is made. I think it was not done the way that it should have been done.
Well, you know, it's also about expectations, and then you mentioned you didn't have high expectations from the budget that you spent, but at the same time, now what we put into this car in 2 days it doesn't really, throw it through the sky in terms of budget or anything like that. It could have been done like this the first time. And if you had got a demo in a car where you have fully active DSP tuned and everything, you would have appreciated that,
Right,
and you would have spent more
That's true.
straight away. At least now you came to the right place,
That's true. Yeah.
and now you heard the difference after
Yeah.
we added the sub at the back.
When I decided to come here, I didn't have the idea to put a sub
In the trunk.
in the trunk.
Yeah.
That's for sure. My concern was more about the doors, how good or bad were the doors.
At
And,
least in this car, the mid bass is not all the way down, and it definitely helps. It's a little bit further up because we managed to get better result out of it, even if it's running only two-way. And you don't have much rattles with the doors, actually,
it depends on the song.
on the song. Earlier we heard when I was talking out there on the bench that you turned it up and you went live club concert level.
Well, it's
How
not-
was it now that you actually now you
it's
can
fun.
do it?
It's fun, and well, in terms of level,
Mm.
I had to reduce the amount of level of the sub because
Yeah.
I don't like too much,
Yeah.
especially when the
We just left it there with the
when
because
the
we wanted to
engine
see.
is off.
Mm.
When I drive, it's different, but
Yeah.
when it's off, I prefer less
Mhm.
volume. So that's why I changed from 4 to 0.
Yeah. That's what we tuned to, and then we just added it with Eddie just to see
And-
what the sub is capable to do.
And I'm happy. And I discovered also that one of the track has a very important noise floor in the low frequencies.
Okay,
And I
you didn't hear it before.
No.
Yep.
Of course.
Oh,
Oh.
and it went off again. So, it's that simple. It's just two-way with a tweeter. The install looks all right. That was custom fitted, an Alpine head unit, but the factory was similar here as well, wasn't it?
Yes, a little bit smaller, I think.
Yeah, but at least you have a decent head unit that plays lossless files.
Mm. Right. And I wanted the navigation, the GPS, and
Yep.
DAB. So, because near Paris, I received the radio.
Yep, and it's pretty good quality, I assume.
Yeah.
Not like
Well,
in UK.
it depends. At
Yeah.
least 1 or 2 stations are okay.
Mhm. And here
And
we
I
are now.
wanted to have something very integrated, like the
Mhm.
tweeters, so that
Yeah, they blend in nicely.
nobody outside want to
Break in and
to break and
take something.
yes, exactly.
So I just thought that I would break it down to people what just happened here today and show some of the measurements to them,
Mhm.
because I know many people like it and some people already they are a bit more experienced, so it helps them to think about
Right.
system design, the whole process of tuning, things like that, because we've done a lot.
Well, as you know, my experience in terms of tuning is almost zero. So
No, it's not true. It's not true, because you came here and you were one of those people who used RU, used even calibration files properly, and you had your flows, and we discussed this.
Yes, it was only based on trial and errors, without any confidence level.
Yep.
So I tried, and
Tried, and you had
after
pretty good results.
yeah,
You know, I
after
get-
the time I got fed up because I was not sure about
You
the
were going in
result.
circles.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
But what you came with, I mentioned earlier as well to the guys, that your car actually sounded better than some cars that come to me from professionals.
Oh,
So yes, you say you didn't have confidence and experience, but you are one of those who've put in the effort to research and learn and watch my videos in fine detail. And you also mentioned that the videos helped you a lot.
Yeah.
And I know many people take a lot away from these videos, even if I can't share everything.
No. But
Sorry for that.
even in
yeah.
a screen like this with HuEQ Wizard, there are a lot of details.
Yeah.
You can have information about how the measure has been done, and well, it's not straightforward. You need to maybe zoom on the picture in order to have more information and to and compare the pictures with different videos. But at the end, you have a better understanding about the techniques and the goal also.
So this is what you came with. That was
Yeah.
that was the measurement that you came with. And as I said earlier as well, your spectral balance wasn't bad at all. You didn't lack mid-range like most cars do. You didn't lack top-end detail. There were little issues here and there. Staging wasn't correct. And yeah, the bass just wasn't right in any way. Yeah, and the sub wasn't even quite in phase. But even when it was in phase, the tonality of the Underseat sub was just terrible.
And the crossovers
were extreme.
Luck.
Because you had all the gains so far down, the tweeter levels were not matched. You were running on like 1 or 2 watts. The system wasn't really coming alive, and that was your luck. Because tweeters were crossed at 1 kilohertz, 24 dB. Mid bass was low passed at 1.1. So those tweeters were doing some crazy stuff, and actually they have response on one side. Okay, let's do it. So the left tweeter in your car was giving a pretty healthy response from pretty low, so it comes alive at around 800. We measured that, and it wasn't difficult to work with because you didn't have crazy dips and peaks. So the aiming worked out well, and compared to that, right tweeter needed a bit more work, and the right tweeter started to work from 1.1. But I always tell to people that just because you have low FS on a tweeter or it starts to play from low, it doesn't mean you want to play it from low. You can, but it's all relative to the expectations of listening levels, how loud people want to listen to music. If you enjoy acoustical music, or classical, anything like that, and 85-90 dB is enough for you, then you only run on a couple of watts, and that's okay. But when people want concert levels and you want to turn it up, you want to go beyond 100, 105 or 110 dB when you send decent power to the speakers, then you want to make sure that the tweeters are crossed higher so they are safe and you won't have issue with distortion. But tweeters measured well as a starting point, and that was just fine.
Even if the curve on the manufacturer's document looks nice, starting at 1 kilohertz.
Yeah, but what the spec shows on a paper that was measured, in a measurement room.
Ideal room.
What it measures in the car is a completely different story. The environment here in the car changes everything. That's why we need fully active systems with proper DSP and fully parametric equalization, because otherwise there's no point. So one thing we found straight away in the car, that levels were just funny, not quite right. So we found that the tweeter was way too low compared to the mid bass. But then at the same time, when I went back and I wanted to turn the tweeters up a bit to match the levels, then I also realized that the bass EQ was turned up on your amplifier plus 12 dB all the way up. You couldn't tell whether it was all the way down or all the way up. So actually it was all the way up. So that big hump at the low end, that was actually, I'll zoom it back. We thought that, wow, mid bass comes alive at like 28 in the door, 30 hertz solid is there, a lot of output up to 450 hertz on driver's side on left, and then your mid range was just decreasing, and above 2K, not much happening. But that was a false picture. So setting up a system is not just about jumping in with a microphone. It's also about making sure the amplifiers don't have silly things turned on, like, yeah, in your case, the bass EQ. Because after we turned that off, we got, where was it? Yeah, actually the reality was that once we took that 12 dB off, which was actually still having an effect up to like 200-300 hertz, but obviously more below 100, then it gave a completely different picture. So that's what we actually had to work with. That mid bass was, yeah, functional from like 60-ish, and then actually that's where we had a huge peak in the car, and up to 1.82 kilohertz it was all right on left. And so the same way we had right bass with the crazy bass boost, and after we turned that off, oopsie, we got rid of that straight away, and then we were looking at a completely different curve. And yes, your passenger side right looked quite funky, and as I always say, and I have, guys, if you go to description you will see a link. I have to figure out how I can insert a link into the video when I talk, when I say, you know, click to the top left, top right, or whatever. I have to figure it out. But in description you will find the video when I showed with measurements why not to use mid bass with a tweeter in a conventional way when the mid bass is down, all the way down in the door, because you will have just big problems above 300-400 hertz, like here as well. It's so dead in the mid range up to like, you know, 1.2k, and then it starts to roll off at 1.7. So yeah, we still managed to get good results, but over here we could see that about 500 hertz, you know, the deepest point is around 520-ish. It's such a big cancellation that you can't do much with. That's when we would rather suggest to people have a wideband if they want to stick to two-way, and then play the wideband from 200-400 hertz from that point on, and then they would have an easier life to get way better detail, and also it would help the stage height. Because in your case we managed to do good results, you know, in the last 2 days, but your stage height is still low.
Yep.
It's kind of like, yeah, center is a bit higher, but overall, you know, it curves down because the mid-range is coming from down low. Center can come up when everything is in time and phase. So then once we measure the drivers, and then we have to find your sub. that was a brilliant piece. So the sub underneath the passenger seat, so where I sit underneath me, that's with the crossover. Actually, we didn't measure it? No, yeah, we did. Hang on.
With the big, yeah.
That's it. So that's what it was doing. It was coming alive at like 45. Big cancellation. It's around in between 60 and 70. An enormous peak at 80 to 100, up to 120. It's just, well, people have to be realistic. It's a 2-liter tiny little shoebox. You know, from such a tiny airspace with a flat driver, yes, they say, yeah, but it's a compromise. Yeah, it's a compromise, but come on, why would you take that compromise? Yes, that shop should have given you the options that you could have this, you could have that. They didn't. So you believe that this would work, and it didn't.
I wanted something under the seat. That was the main requirement.
To be fair, you have quite decent height or space underneath the seat. You could have had a decent custom sub box built. You know, if someone tells me that, Pete, I must have something bass up front and I can't put it to the trunk, okay, especially a car like this where you sit high and you have probably a good 20 centimeter under the seat, you could easily build a box for, you know, not a shallow 8-inch in a 2-liter shoebox, but you could have 10-15 liter decent sized box with a decent sized driver. And yes, you would still probably have issue with that cancellation, because that possibly would be the same with any other driver in that location, because location dictates in any car, but it would have had way better lower extension, because we were looking at your driver once you put a crossover on it, and by then it wasn't really adding much to the doors. Yes, something. It added something, but
Shakes.
yeah, we felt like they were like shakers, just rattling, moving, and I called it like it sounded like hot fart. Yeah, that's the reality. So when yesterday we finished the tuning session and we came up with the plan at around 5 o'clock, I said, okay, I can stay for 2 more hours, and then we actually built the structure of the box yesterday, and we left it setting, glue and everything, and then today we finished everything with the box. And that's the other thing. Today you could see every single step.
Oh yeah.
You could see what went into it, and then when I tell to people that okay, this is going to take day 2, 3, a week, then some people don't understand it. Now you could see that even just building a simple box had so many steps, because it had to be angled to the rear seat, tolerances, connectors, inserts, bolts, because we just do it properly. We don't use simple wood screws to mount drivers, because just don't. And to the time you make grills, bolts, you sort out everything, trimming. Yeah, it took the whole day. And here we are at 5:45, taking a video before we feel like we are happy with everything. Pack up and go home. But we wanted to share a video with you guys, because hopefully you have a lot to learn from this. So let's go back to the measurements. So this was the sub before, useless. And that's the thing, you also agreed and you also mentioned that what the measurement looks like and what it shows is one thing. It doesn't show the tonality, it doesn't show the attack of a system, the control on the driver,
exactly.
distortion.
I had a wrong idea and a wrong target in my mind when I tried to apply the setups or the tuning. I thought that because I have a subwoofer under the seat, I should be able to reach 30 Hz. But
yeah, you first you cross the underseat drivers at 40.
Because of the big peak.
Yeah.
But
that driver doesn't play anything below 45 Hz, so when you cross it at 40,
right,
all that came out of it was...
I had no idea about the real meaning of 30 Hz, 40 Hz. And
what it is actually in real life.
Until I went into your car and have a reference point.
Yes.
That's also very important.
Yeah, because we always have a car around, or if people tell me that they want to come for a demo, then I make sure that Eddie's car is around, the Scirocco, I can bring the Honda, or the Suzuki now has a functional system, or we work on something, then we can always show it, and that gives a fantastic insight into what's actually possible, what you didn't get back there by that shop or anyone else. Yeah. They just put you in front of the demo wall. There you go. This is what you can have. Which one would you like? Sadly. Let's run it through quickly so then guys can see it. So this was the bass driver, full range. Then from that we set up the crossovers. So at the end we were running with a 60 Hz 24 dB slope on the mid bass up to 1.8. So from that left bass we ended up getting, why do I have, oh that's tweeter, where's the left basic, so right basic, so where's the EQ'd version of those? Oh, here we go. So from that we managed to get this, and we got rid of that huge peak, made it more linear to the target curve, and that cancellation point is something that we can't help. So we managed to get something way better looking. Then from right bass EQ, from this madness we managed to get that. By then left and right mid bass was matching pretty nicely with little differences, and yeah, that's something, that area between 450 and 700 that we couldn't do much with. So that's one of the things with two-way systems. Now you learned, but when you play music you don't notice it too much. especially as you didn't have crazy high expectation levels. Once left and right was sorted, we could set up the timing and then play them together. And of course, because in that range none of the speakers play that, it comes up in the sum as well. So we had to live with that sacrifice over there. Then with the tweeters, so left tweeter, now we had the right level coming out of it after we reset the gains. And if you want, guys, if you want to know how we set up gains, because this is a never-ending topic, we covered this probably a month ago. Well, this is now October 2021, so around a month ago we covered this on Patreon. You will find a link to that as well in description, where we can really go into in-depth content, and we had like a 30-40 minute video about how we set up gains and what things to really focus on when it comes to level settings. So from that left tweeter we managed to get that, and then from the right tweeter, which looked like that, a lot of energy in given areas, big peaks, making it sound really harsh, and then people would blame the tweeters. We managed to get something that was matching the other side better, way more linear, and they have decent top end detail, but they are also aimed well. So okay, then they were timed, playing together, looked nice, but we had way more level with the tweeters, so we had to drag down 4 dB from them, and then that's what we had to work with and integrate them. Integration wasn't perfect. It's not easy to have perfect linear sum between mid and tweeter, because there are so many anomalies, and I always tell to people that one thing you cannot measure and cannot separate in a car when you do real-time analyzation, you cannot separate direct and reflected sound. So what we measure is the combination of the two, and when you try to sum up tweeters with mid bass as well, getting a super linear sum is very difficult. So until they are in time and in phase, and hang on, was it the one? This is not the one. We had another measurement for that, because that was the one when they were not in phase, and then it was taking level out from there. Then when I had another measurement after I flipped the polarity, it came up higher, but it wasn't matching that exact, and I think we even had to drop the tweeters even lower. But yeah, the sum wasn't as linear as normally people would want to see it. But if anything, when you have a little bit of a dip above 1.5 up to like 3K, that's not a bad thing, because that's where the ear is the most sensitive. So if you have a couple of dB drop there, then at least the system is kind of more relaxing to listen to. It's not as fatigue, especially when the drivers are not the highest quality, and the distortion levels are not the lowest either. Then we went on to sub. So that was your sub yesterday evening, when we were like, okay, there's not much we can do with it. We felt like really after the front two-way was sorted out, we just wanted to mute the Underseat sub.
Yep.
Because then the two-way, even without a sub, it was just accurate and pleasant and musical, and then that thing just added just
vibrations in the seats
and shit. So even if we EQ'd it, we got rid of that peak, and we got what we got. It just, yeah, the curve might have looked acceptable and showed a bit of a rise below the mid bass, but it just didn't sound right. It was just wrong. So that's when we came in today, and then we did what we did. We transformed this car. So that was the measurement of your bass driver on the seat, and then from that we went there. So that's the SB acoustics in the back of the trunk. running full range. We want to see what it's doing. Full range, and yes, we have healthy level, we have healthy output, even if we only have a small Zapco amplifier on it, a ST2X SQ. It's only 190 watts bridged for that driver, but it's only 150 watt RMS, so it's perfectly matched. You have plenty of headroom and you don't need big bass anyway. So after we put the crossover on it, we could see that we had a lot of level, and down to 24-25 hertz, even the tiny little thing can play down to. The car has something funny happening in between 30-32. It just doesn't like that. There's a cancellation there, but the rest is really healthy. It looks nice. And then after the EQ, we made it more linear. We got rid of that peak, what the car boosts from the trunk. I think like an extra 8 dB over there, quite wide. It makes the whole system really boomy. People don't understand that they have to EQ sub as well. Most people don't even do anything about it. And it's just as important as EQing mid-bass tweeters. Subs need EQing. So then we dropped the level on the sub. It was still a bit too much. And then so we just got interrupted because the wife was on the phone. It's one of those things, you know, we all have lives as well. So after the sub was, let's take this one out because that measurement is still there from your old sub, which looks terrible there. So after the sub was level matched to the system, timed, and to make sure that it's in phase, because once it was flipped, the polarity was flipped, let's change the color on it, then it shows better. Yeah, then that was pretty much complete cancellation between mid bass and sub, and the measurement shows it really well too. And that's another way to confirm when the sub is in time and phase. And the curve is nice. Yes, that's the only area that we had issue with, that narrow thing there. But otherwise, the rest of the system looks pretty acceptable. And yeah, that's on a 112 octave smoothing. When people show it in like 1/6 or 1/3, then it's actually nice and smooth. And then they're like, wow, okay, it's all right. Yes, we can still have a bit of tweaky with it. That's what now we have time for, just to make sure that like there's a bit of a peak there in between 3.5 and 4, and that can make the system a bit shouty. So we're gonna take that out, and then anything else you want to add, then yeah, we will do that now, and then you will be a happy man driving home.
Yep.
Hopefully. So where are we right now with this system? I think you'll be happy for a while.
Sure.
Because now
That's true.
it's fully active. What we didn't mention, that you have the Helix DSP.3
Yes.
that you added. I mentioned
I
in
did
the introduction.
myself.
And that's pretty much it. So people can see what things to focus on. We always mention that, you know, if someone is stuck, and it's understandable, you know, we can't help everyone, and there are so many people globally, a billion miles away from us. But if they are stuck, and if the shops are, I don't know how to describe, most of the shops, they're just not as helpful, or they don't have the experience or the reference, then we can always help online. You know, you can book a consultation with us, and we can help you to decide on equipment in the given car you have and the budget you have. And we can even help finding a shop for you or an installer, because I know many people worldwide. It definitely helps once you know where to go. Although I would struggle if someone asked me from France, Pete, where can I take my car in France? I wouldn't know where to stand people. I don't know anyone who's capable building a proper fully active system that actually also sounds nice and they can tune as well. I don't know anyone.
Well, that depends on the expectation of the customer.
No, I'm talking about expectations, what you've got now.
Ah.
You know, to get to a level like this at least, or what I do in more capable systems where we have proper freeway and, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. The fact is that I didn't talk to the people with the same requirement as today. When I started, I didn't have the same expectations, so the message that I also gave was maybe different, maybe too simple, and as a result, I had an entry level system, or not, maybe not so entry, but something that I can enjoy. But with the time and the knowledge, I realized that it's possible to reach another level and to enjoy a little bit more.
It's not just another level right now. What you have, it's a whole different level. If anything, to be fair, if I had known you and if you had dropped me a line right at the beginning, I could have sent you to someone in Paris, because I have a friend over there who has great experience in all this game, and he always has nice sounding systems. He just bought a new car, so possibly you wouldn't have been able to listen to anything currently. But when was this system built actually?
This one?
Yeah. This year or last year?
No. Yeah, 2 years ago.
Okay, so it's a good while ago. So you live with this system for quite a while now.
I don't remember exactly.
Okay, so it was a good while ago. Well, at least you managed to find content. You could do research. And then here you are now, after a nice little trip on the ferry.
Yeah.
which is also, a great memory in a way.
Yes. Well, it was planned in my holidays, so it was perfectly okay to spend time in the ferry, and
you just didn't have time to see UK a little bit, to see what it's like, because we were busy with this. At least we had good fun yesterday night.
Yes.
You got proper audio Nirvana.
Yeah.
Listening to everything, all the cars we have, home system that many people would love to listen to. And now we can happily send you home and you can enjoy this system. And this is probably where I finish this video, guys. Hopefully you could take quite a lot of stuff away from this, and you could also hear the owner, which is always better than me talking only about things from my point of view, because what matters is the customer's point of view more than anything, really. Check out the description, guys, so you will find many links there to some of the things I referred to during the video. And subscribe to the channel, do the usual things, comment, feel free to share it, and hopefully I can bring you something great very soon. Take care.